Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Sunday Morning Coffee with Lisa. I'm Spiritual Coach Lisa Hopp. It is Sunday, May 17th, 2020. If you're new to my podcast, welcome. And if you're coming back, thank you so much for coming back every week and for all your support and positive energy that you send my way. You may notice that my voice is a little bit raw this morning. I am recording this on Sunday morning with my cup of coffee, all about legitimacy here. But I had another wonderful virtual gathering with my friends last night, and this one went longest and latest than ever. And we're all a little bit worse for wear this morning, but it's wonderful therapy. I actually one day am going to miss this very much when we're all out of quarantine and free to roam around. And I know that day will come, by the way. But for right now, this is our end of week gift to ourselves and to each other. And I'm very thankful for it. Very, very thankful for it. So this week's topic, once again, was chosen in the last couple of days. I had a client yesterday, actually more than one client yesterday, that I very basically and bluntly said, I will honor your free will. I will not judge you for using your free will. But if your free will makes this particular choice, you will not acquire happiness. And they understood that. Still doesn't mean they listened. Because free will is a very powerful thing. And it is free. So today's topic is free will. Now back in October, I did a show called Free Will and Why It Sucks. And that was about will. When somebody else is choosing to use their free will and you can't do anything about it, and you want them to make a different choice, you're personally involved, maybe you want them to choose you, and there's nothing that you can do to make them do that. This one is about you and using your free will. Now, the dictionary describes free will as the ability to act at one's own discretion. And that is true. That's very true. But there's actually two types of free will. And the one that I'm most connected with, the one that moves me the most, is the will that is connected to our soul. Because really, honestly, that's the most divine, the one that you really can't do anything about. It is the free will choice connected to your soul that decides when you transition to heaven. It decides when you're born. It decides those larger divine issues in your life. And then there's the other free will. And that free will is the one that does make choices more with your mind, perhaps from your past hurts and other, I don't want to say issues, but other forms of reasoning that you come about because of your life experiences. That's the free will that we most associate with because it's day to day. It's also the free will that we learn about the consequences of religiously. So, myself being raised in traditional religion, I was taught that you have, quote, free will, but if you don't make the choices that this divine entity called God wants you to make, or the Father on the throne wants you to make, then, well, you might be lucky not to go to hell. And hope for divine forgiveness to get to heaven. And I know for myself, I was raised hoping that that was making that divine source happy, and this wasn't making them too unhappy, and that chronic and constant fear of a God in heaven. But underlying my gut, my wisdom, my knowing, my intuition told me that there was a loving source that would be understanding who I am, and that sometimes I make choices emotionally or with my brain. I don't know if you're one of these people, but I am. I've learned, don't think too much. It'll just get me in trouble. And so when I make choices like that, it doesn't mean I'm a horrible person that deserves to have a fiery journey. It means I was human. And so it never made sense to me as to why I'd be giving free will, but it had those dire consequences. Now, free will does have consequences when you are using it to decide about your journey. It will. It does. It's called, many of us think of it as instant karma or eventual karma. There's consequences for actions. And we get them. But it doesn't mean we're not loved and we're not forgiven. It's different. You get the review. You get to see your impact. You've experienced it a lot of times now on Earth. It's so quick nowadays. I know myself, if I cut someone out in traffic, a second later, I'm probably going to get cut out in traffic. That's a small little example, but it's an example I've seen. And so that is divine consequences for us using our free will. The choice to make that decision, even if we didn't mean it. I never mean to cut someone out, but in a small way I pay for it. And it goes deeper to those that you think get away with things. They never do. There's always divine consequences. It's set up. It's an energy. As we are made of energy, there is an energy around us balancing the universe. What we put out, we get back. I talk about that very frequently because it's so true, and I have an understanding that we all really consciously don't think of that enough. We don't realize the power that we have to create our lives. It's nothing to be paranoid about. Just always make the choice from love, from a place of love. Whether it be about yourself, which is the hardest thing to do, or it's about another. What is loving right now towards me and that other person? And by the way, sometimes the most loving choice is to cut that other person or to get tough with that other person. It's not always love in a weaker form, meaning settling or putting up with, or as Jesus said, turning the other cheek. When he said turning the other cheek, he meant letting it go and having forgiveness, but he in no way meant settling or being in abusive relationships or not loving yourself. He just meant don't let yourself get fired up and get invited to the fight, among those other examples. So, every day we make a conscious decision on how we want to react to a situation and who we want to be. And there's not enough time in this particular shorter podcast to talk about all the other things that come into play, such as your beliefs and your thoughts and your feelings. I just want to concentrate on will today. So, why I bring up will? It's that the hardest thing for me as a teacher and a healer, a life coach, is to tell somebody the path they can take And then also tell them the other paths that can come into play, and know I have to leave it in their hands. I'm not egotistical in that I will get upset if they don't listen to me. I almost have to be like our Creator and see how it goes and be there for them anyway and care for them anyway. So I want to explain these two different ways of using free will. There's really two different wills, even though we think of it as one. So the divine will, the one connected to the soul, that's a very intimate one. That is one that, like a million times over, nobody else can impact. It's the one most seen, as I said, when you're deciding when to surrender it to go to heaven. And many times we pass when no one's around or quickly, because it's very hard for us to surrender and go to heaven. We know that we're leaving people we love behind physically. We do come to an understanding that we're really not leaving them behind, but we know that we're going to hurt them. We know sometimes that they're going to try and make us stay. And the thing is, we can't make them stay. There's absolutely no amount of love that you can feel for a person that's going to make them stay on earth for as long as you want them to. It has to be between themselves and their team in heaven. It is. It is whether you like it or not. And that decision is decided quietly and privately. And I will imagine there's other decisions divinely that we make. Perhaps it's that quiet voice, that divine soul that tells us when it's time to leave an abusive relationship, that tells us when it's time to follow our life purpose. It's not the day-to-day free will decisions. It's those milestone decisions that nobody else can halt us from, and only we have in the power of our hands. Now the other free will is the one that we most know about, the one that we make decisions from every day. And most of those decisions, it comes from our head, from thinking, and our heart, from feeling. But it's not a knowing, intuitive feeling. It's a very quick, responsive feeling. It's very human. It's the free will that no matter how good someone looks on paper, doesn't mean we can love them. It doesn't mean that they're enough for us, that we can be happy. And we always feel bad about that because we want it to be all right. We want it to add up. We want it to be easier. But we can't make our free will feel and do something it doesn't want to do. So the same way that we can feel frustrated and hurt by another person not doing what we want them to do, our free will can let us down too. We think. Eventually, if it's honored, it gives us the greatest happiness. So there's a reward always for honoring free will, whether it be your own or the free will of another. There's always an upgrade, always a reward. If you can hang in there, if you can believe, have faith, have hope, there's always a great outcome to the investment of honoring the free will. There's also a myth regarding free will. We give our will so much power in this way when it's not the will at all. And that is when we try to embark upon something, whether it be a new diet or a new exercise program, we think our will's involved and that our will has to stay strong. And when we fall off the wagon and have a bad day with our diet or don't exercise for a day, we blame our will. It's not our will at all. It's actually our autopilot that we tend to be on with the habits that we put in place through our thoughts, our feelings, and our beliefs. Our will is always on board. Our will would love for us to stick to our diet and to exercise. But it's not the number one culprit. Can the will help us and change? Oh yes. But beliefs and thoughts and love about ourselves has to change first. It's generally done over about 30 days. If you can consciously change your habits, your thoughts, and work on your beliefs through self-hypnosis, work on just feeling good about yourself for at least 30 days, your will change as well. It will come on board. It will join it. It will join the journey. But strong will it's not the number one reason for a letting down on changes, because it's always there. It was your free will, your strong will, that started you wanting to do it in the first place. But then all these other things came into place, such as I said, the thoughts, the beliefs, the emotions. So in going about changing your life, that's why you have to tackle the thoughts, the beliefs, and the emotions first. And then the will be changed as a result and get stronger. But it's always there. The will is always strong and always undaunting. So I hope that makes sense. Let me summarize it again, just because it's early on a Sunday morning. The strong will, pulled you into wanting to make those changes and honoring yourself. And it is strong no matter what. And it's always at work no matter what. However, when we make changes, the strong will is not the number one pilot. It's not the driver. The driver are our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs. So in order to stick to a new change in your life or a new way of life, those three things have to be strong, have to be inspiring, have to be empowering. Excuse me. And so, for instance, you should feel yourself already your ideal body weight. Feel yourself already successful with the test. Feel yourself healthy. Feel yourself abundant. Feel yourself already have achieved that which you want to achieve. And so when you start a new lifestyle eating program, because there really shouldn't be a diet, to be honest, because diets are always temporary. But when you want to make changes for the better for the rest of your life, you don't start looking at what has to change. You start feeling that it's already changed. You start thinking like it's already changed, and you start promoting habits that show it's already changed. So in other words, you start living like a thin person. You start living like a healthy person. What does a healthy person do? They exercise. They make choices that a healthy person would make. And you know what they are. We all intuitively have them. When you want to be wealthy, you walk around feeling wealthy. You make choices that a wealthy person would make as much as you possibly can. You cannot start from zero and hope your will gets it done, because your will is not involved. And another way to really work on all those things is to see what you can do to just consciously do something different. Like if you eat at 10 o'clock at night, try to make it 10:05. Try to wait till 10:30. Try to see if you can wait till you fall asleep and then you're not doing it. Make mini changes. If you're trying to stop smoking, hide the cigarettes away from you so you have a longer walk to get to them. Throw little curves in there like that to promote better foundations. And then continue to talk to yourself lovingly, to promote, I believe in affirmations. Well, those of you who are my clients and listen to me, I wrote a book called Affirmations for Everyday Life. Walk around saying your affirmations. I am my ideal weight. I am lovable. I am successful. I am worthy. I am deserving. I am powerful. I am beautiful. Whatever you want to feel, whatever you want to achieve, walk around stating that it is a reality now. And energy has to obey and bring the factors and experiences into your world to help you to make it happen. You will get assistance, and pretty quickly, if not within moments. So once you start working on changing your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, you'll feel that your free will gets stronger. You're like, nope, I don't want to do that. Nope, I'm fine. Or yes, now I do want to do that. I do want to take that hike. I do want to start that exercise program. I have a will. You can't divert me anymore. Husband who eats chips in front of me. I have a stronger will now. You cannot hurt me by your words. Family member on the phone or via Facebook, because I have a stronger will now. I'm not going to be affected in the way I was before and react in a way that isn't loving towards me. So in order to strengthen your will to help you in all areas of your life, you must start with a conscious decision to change what you think, feel, and believe. And you're a work in progress. The most successful and the most spiritual in this world, the wealthiest in this world, they practice this knowing and these activities, these exercises every day. They get up at 4 a.m. in the morning and immediately implement activities, affirmations, visualizations to create their ideal life, because they know that this very day, on Sunday, May 17th, you're creating your future. It's a white blank slate. Isn't that fun? Isn't that such a gift? That's why free will is a gift. You get to use your free will to decide what you want. And your will has led you to it. And then you get to work on your thoughts, your beliefs, and your emotions to create it. And then your strong will and your intuition will lead you to what actions to take, what changes. And overall, you're good to go. We all get stumbles. But your life will change for the better. And you can start right now. And then you can restart tomorrow if you get off track later. Each day is a brand new day. Each day. And you create it. And always be loving to yourself. And always know you can start again. I also use my free will to decide how I'm going to feel about this current state of our affairs. I'm in New Jersey, as a lot of you know, and we've been under quarantine since about mid-March, but we're starting to get it loosened a tiny bit, though there are some in the population that have taken that, let's just say you can't give them a little, they've taken a lot. And so they think they're out of quarantine entirely and they're not wearing their masks around each other. And so I'm just hanging back and using my common sense and wisdom to let this play out a little bit more. It's not fear. It's just a knowing that there isn't a day into night or a night into day change here. There is still a virus that is around, and I'm going to do my part to prevent it touching me as much as I possibly can. It's smart. And so there are many people, not many, but maybe 25 to 30% of people who have been locked down that have seen it as a negative. And humanly, understandingly, if they had a wait for help with finances, I can understand being tested. But perception goes a long way. You have a free will to decide what you want to do, how you want to feel. My free will has been an understanding that this can be a time of growth. My free will chose to look into it and to see that the leaders that have us on lockdown have the best intentions. They're not being nefarious. They're not trying to be political. They're trying to save lives, whether you agree with their entire way of doing it or not. So I decided to be present. I decided to be in this present place of it is what it is, and what can I do with it? Some have spring cleaned. Some have written books. I have not worked on either of those. I have grown my business through Zoom. I have adjusted. I have started spending time with my friends more than ever, just virtually. I have decided to make it a time of happiness and productivity rather than a time of being jailed and worry and fear and any of those lower negative emotions. Now, do I have moments when I'm tested? Absolutely. That's human. That's normal. That's natural. But for the most part, I have chosen with my free will to make the positive most of it And it has really worked for me. Because the more positive that we are, the more faith we have, the more hope we have, the sooner the help arrives. Because what we focus on, we get. I say this almost every week as well. So when you focus on lack of unemployment, it's going to stay away from you. When you focus on the stimulus, it's not even the right word for it, is it? The economic impact payment not arriving here in America, it keeps it away. It's not your fault. It's just energy. But if you focus on what is all right, if I don't have enough food, I can get to a food bank. Or the help that does come from someone. If you can milk that, that will promote positive energy, which promotes help arriving, abundance arriving, prosperity arriving. So you want to focus on what you want, not on what you don't want, or what you don't want to continue. And it is also imperative to take care of yourself during this time, which is not easy to do. I've had moments where I've eaten too many carbs. But the next day I try again. And so be kind to yourself, be loving, be supportive of you. Ask for, get what you need. But perception matters. Perception works in your favor. How you choose to perceive, how you choose to use your free will pay off later in some way, whether it is more negative or whether it is more positive. Always try to go more positive. And whether you realize it or not, even if you are locked down, you have choice. That's what I just said. You have choices. You have the choice of how to feel, the choice of how to think, the choice of how to act. Free will, use it wisely. Perception, use it wisely. Thoughts, choose wisely. Feelings, choose wisely. Beliefs, choose wisely. Because it's all being set up for you. And there is a larger picture going on regarding this pandemic. And it's a good one. It's a good larger picture. It is not one that should be based in fear. So if you're around something, or someone, or you're one of those people whose quarantine time has caused you to watch YouTube videos, or to listen to people that brings you greater fear, that makes you believe in theories, step back. Because it's almost like that is a symptom of this time. Being locked up, having too much time on our hands. It's not healthy. What's going on in our world right now, globally, will eventually give us more freedom. And I'm not talking about political and socialism. I'm saying it's about energy converting, about a better change to our world. Notice the positives. Notice what you see with wine fairies and food banks and neighbors helping neighbors. This was what it was all about. Working from home, job transitions. It's painful at first, but there is inevitably, in the long run, meant to be a huge reward. And sometimes it's amazing, but we all chose to be here for this time. We thought before we got here that we didn't want to miss out on this. And no, we weren't crazy. The 2020 that we all wish we had known about so we could skip over probably. We all signed up for. Doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel pain or fear at moments. Just keep the larger picture in mind. There is a greater purpose. Use your free will to try to tap in to what blessings could be going on and are going on. Focus there very narrowly, and you will come out of this all better. And then one day look back and go, I see it. I see it. And try not to live in fear. Because while, yes, there is good, there is evil, there are villains in this world, it's never a good move to live in fear, because fear is an illusion. It's made up. Most of the time, what you fear doesn't even happen. It's all in the mind, for the most part. I think it was estimated once, it was like 97% of the time. What you're fearing doesn't come to pass. What you fear happening, not in a way that you feared it. And we all get it at times. We all have moments where we're like, ooh. But overall, you can still in that moment say, I am not going to choose to feel this way. I'm going to choose to know that I am a great being, created in the likeness and image of my Creator. And I'm going to choose to be powerful right now. People, intrepid listeners, I am not sitting here in my home feeling that someone took my freedoms away. Of course you have freedom. You have the freedom to go along with a lockdown, to go along with wearing a mask or not. You always do, every day. I'm not sitting here feeling jailed. I'm not sitting here feeling held back, and I'm not even feeling locked down. It's a choice. Nelson Mandela spent years in prison. This is what I'm talking about. He was in prison, but he was never a prisoner. He had power the whole time of his mind, of his will, of his soul. It is what you make it, and make it really good. What can you be doing at this time? And we're starting to come out of this, by the way, though we do need a couple months, I would say. It's going to get really interesting, but that's a whole nother topic too. What can you do though at this time to work on something? What can you do? What's your life purpose? Do you know? What if your job doesn't come back? This was the time to find out what your true life purpose is on this earth. What you could be doing, what you're good at, and give yourself credit, because a lot of people all of us are naturally gifted at something, but we don't often give ourselves enough credit for it. This is your time. How can you make the most of this time? Think about it. Thank you so much for listening to me today. I'm going to wrap it up because I've been talking to you for about 40 minutes. And I know that you have a blessed Sunday to live, as I do. I have plans today. Fun ones. And so I'm going to let you get to it. But I thank you for joining me. And I hope that you connected with all that you heard today in some way. And that you keep it at the back of your mind as you go through this week. And for the rest of your life. Remember, you have power. You have perception. And you have a divine will that's always taking care of you. Keep that in mind. And also, always remember, even if you don't feel it, see it in your environment, you are tremendously loved. Please keep that in mind. There is an energy, a great energy, that watches you with adoration and loud smiles. Just keep that in mind. Thank you again. God bless.